Hello, everybody. My name is Andy Hermanson. I'm one of the pastors here at Lutheran Church of Hope, and I want to say to you, welcome back. We are so glad you've returned after week one to our series, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Now, I don't know about you, but I got to tell you, this book for me, it was a challenge. It is convicting, and it has made a huge difference in my life. And so thank you for making your way back here for this session number 2. Now, your pre-reading, if you are reading the book and joining the discussions, the pre-reading this week looked a little something like this. We got chapter 2, which is a brief history of speed. I want to talk to you about that for just a moment, but also we've got chapter 3 here titled Something is Deeply Wrong. And I got to tell you today, something is deeply wrong with the way that so many of us are living. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I am preaching to myself today, but I got to tell you, something feels like it is deeply wrong because things are getting crazy. Things are getting crazy really fast. And I got to tell you, I don't like it. I don't know about you, but it seems like I try and be intentional with my time. I got a lot of things that are going on. I've got 4 kids on 4 different soccer teams these days. I'm trying to make it to their practices, trying to feed my family, trying to get to work, trying to continue to grow in my marriage. And it feels like a lot. And yet, I just don't know how to get everything done. And so we're a part of this society that just seems to be going faster and faster and faster. And it just feels like things are going crazy. Now, as a culture, we do struggle with this. We struggle with busyness. We struggle to take time to sit still. In fact, I was thinking about preparing the session. I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop. And we are going to take just 10 seconds and do nothing. All right, you ready for this? Here we go. Man, that's awkward, right? And maybe you're sitting in a small group watching this. Maybe you're watching this on your own. That was 10 seconds, right? Now imagine trying to do that for a minute or 30 minutes or an hour, right? And maybe it's just me. But man, we struggle with sitting still. It's part of the culture that we're in. Just a reminder, right? And I think that you probably know this. Things are getting crazy and they're getting crazy fast. And it shows up in the way that we live our life. I put a few different pictures here. I got somebody eating fast food. I swore I was never going to be that dad feeding fast food to my kids in the van between practices, but I've become that person. I found myself texting and driving, at least feeling the temptation to that, and every once in a while giving into that. I know, as you're going to hear, that that's a big deal. I have a story to go with that, but I got to tell you guys, even recently in my life, I knew something was deeply wrong when I had an appointment with the dentist and I was looking forward to it. Who does that? Apparently me, and apparently a whole lot of other people in this world that we live in. I was beyond excited for an entire hour where nobody needed anything from me, where I could sit still. All I had to do was lay there and just enjoy. I mean, open my mouth, of course, it's the dentist, right? But really just be present in the moment. And don't we long for something like that? All of this points to the idea, as we run around and live our lives, it's no accident that we feel this way. And maybe you need to hear that. I want to park on that for just a second. Maybe you've been really busy and this book already has got you feeling guilty about the way that you're living your life, the pace that you're running. Maybe you feel like you're trapped. I want you to understand today, we believe, right? We say it every time we get together at church. We believe it's no accident you're here. I'm honestly convinced, especially reading these 2 chapters, it's no accident that so many of us feel stressed and busy and overwhelmed with our life. Now, there's a lot of different reasons behind this, and this is what chapter 2 begins to dig into, but I would say it like this. Technology opened the gates for our pace of life to increase, and that's everything, right? From a clock to the Industrial Revolution that separated our work lives and our family lives. Now, I grew up on a farm, so it's a little different for me, but that even sets some things in motion that are allowing us to be busier and busier today. You put together something like a car, that he talks about. The Amish are very skeptical of that, right? Because they've seen what it has done to the way that we live our lives, let alone you talk about the telephone, or heaven forbid, I would bring up the smartphone, right? And so technology has allowed us to be busier. I love the testimony that's referenced from not that long ago that says, well, when we get into the 2000s, people, they aren't going to be busy at all. They're going to be bored because they're going to need something to do because we have this time-saving technology. What they didn't count on is the fact that as humans, we are addicted to productivity. And it is that addiction to productivity that has allowed our culture to shift as well. As a culture, we have swallowed hook, line, and sinker this idea that we are what we do. We've given up our Sabbath, right? We've allowed our Sundays or whatever, church nights, whatever, our weekends to be consumed with things other than giving our attention to God. We've given into this cultural idea that we have to do life on our own. We used to, back in the day, not that long ago, families often lived in extended family settings, right? One of the reasons so many of us as parents are so busy is because we're trying to do life in a way that used to require extended family present and around us to be a part of that as well. And here's the thing about our culture. We celebrate being busy. We view it as a badge of honor. And so when you think about all this, right, no wonder you and I are exhausted. It is a challenging environment to live in. And what I really want to focus on today as we continue to think about this is the fact that our results, the results of all this, they have a name. Number one, I would tell you, it's called a short attention span. Did you read the part in this book where he says we're below a goldfish now in our ability to focus on things? It's like 8 seconds we're down to, right? That is not a lot. But he also gives us this understanding, this diagnosis of hurry sickness. And you can read about these in the chapter, but I want to tell you, I did the little quiz that he has in the book, and I scored 8 out of 10. And I read this book like a year ago, and I've been working on it. Irritability, right? Slippage of spiritual disciplines, isolation, lack of care for our body, all have shown up at various points in my own life. What about you? What is it that you have experienced when it comes to hurried sickness in our life? The results have a name, and so that's helpful to understand it, but we also want to understand today that the results, they have an impact. The way we live our life has a huge impact on us. And I got to tell you, I told you I was going to tell you a story. I discovered this not that long ago as I was in a hurry to get to my next destination after a class for seminary in the Twin Cities. And I'm looking at my phone, and I decide I'm in too much of a hurry to back out of the to wait in the parking spot to find where I'm going next, set the map. I'm like, I got to start driving. I'm going to do the map as I go. And I'm looking at my phone long enough that a car pulls out in front of me in the parking lot, and at 5 miles an hour, I managed to T-bone some old lady in a Buick, right? Like, you just can't make this stuff up. And so that's a literal impact that hurried has had on my life, but it goes much deeper than that as well. In fact, Comer is going to talk about in this book, what you give your attention to is the person you become. And I just want to close with this, that he's got something really powerful to say as he kind of redefines this in his own words as well. He says, the mind is the portal to the soul, and what you fill your mind with will shape the trajectory of your character. Right? In the end, your life is no more than the sum of what you gave your attention to. That bodes well for those of us as apprentices of Jesus who give the bulk of our attention to him and to all that is good, beautiful, and true in the world, but not for those who give their attention to the 24/7 news cycle of outrage and anxiety and emotionally charged drama. He says again, we become what we give our attention to, for better or for worse. And he goes on to say this, and this was startling to me, and this is why I wanted to include this. He says, some of the most sincere and honest people I know tell me that when they get into the presence of God, they just can't pay attention. And if they lose their capacity to pay attention to God for long, even short lengths of time, who knows who will become? There is an intangible impact of living this hurried life as well. It's going to hit us relationally, physically, emotionally, but perhaps most importantly, spiritually speaking. And it's easy to miss that impact. It's easy to miss things, but think about the moments that you've missed. Think about the lack of detail and love you're able to bring to a relationship if you're distracted and your energy is going some other place. What do we do? Well, the reality is we move with Jesus. And the good news for all of us is today, and we're going to unpack in the rest of this book, is that Jesus offers a way forward. And so as you dig into it in this session, I want to pray for you. And I want to pray that God will continue to open your eyes to the impact this hurried culture and this hurried way of life is having on you. Jesus, we say thank you today for your love and your grace. And I pray for those watching this, as they discuss these questions, as they wrestle with what this means for them, God, show up and continue to lead them and guide them. In Jesus' name, amen. That's it for session 2. We will see you soon.